Welcome to Roots and Branches of Lehi, the podcast where we get to know the faces, stories, and lives that make up our community. I'm Ryan Harding, and I started this podcast as a way for us all to connect with the people we live alongside. Growing up in a small town, I learned that connections go beyond blood. They're built through shared experiences, friendships, and the moments we celebrate together. Each week, we'll sit down with someone new from Lehi to share their unique story, their passions, and what they love most about living here. So whether you've been here for years or just arrived, join us as we deepen our roots and reach out to our branches one story at a time. Welcome, Phil Wasden, to Roots and Branches of Lehi, where we get to know you a little bit better and kind of reflect on your life, some of the things you've done, that kind of thing. So I appreciate you coming in today. So,
Ryan, thank you. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
And I consider it an honor.
Good. No, I'm actually very much looking forward to this and getting to know you a little bit better and stuff. So maybe let's go ahead and start with kind of a little introduction here of you. You know, how long have you been in Lehi? You know, did you grow up here? Talk to me about that kind of thing, I guess, first.
Well, that's an interesting start. So let's begin there. I lived in Chico, California for 37 years.
Okay.
And my wife was diagnosed with uterine cancer.
Okay.
In 2000. And she passed away in 2001.
Okay.
Ironically, her burial was on September the 11th, 2001.
Oh.
At the very hour the first plane hit the North Tower.
Oh, wow.
So that is my Memorial Day.
Sure, yeah.
And every year I'm at her graveside before sunup in a lawn chair, just meditating. And this all occurs up in a little rural area in northern Wyoming.
Okay.
Called Penrose. Mm-hmm. It's up by Cody, Wyoming, and just south of Billings, Montana, by Yellowstone Park.
Yeah.
We had talked before her passing of downsizing. We had a beautiful big home in California, but of downsizing and using the proceeds to finance a mission, and we were going to build a home in Idaho. Well, things don't always go the way they're planned.
Sure. That is it's very true.
So I continued to work until I retired.
Okay.
In Chico, and then I started to look for places to live other than there. And when I came to Utah, I met a friend, and he said, have you considered Utah? And I said, well, I've looked at Arizona, I've looked at Texas, I've looked at Wyoming, Colorado. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I know an honest realtor. I said, that's an oxymoron.
Sure.
No offense, realtor. But anyway, but I have worked with them.
Yep.
I was a state inspector for the state of California
Okay.
and I worked with realtors and
Sure.
I worked with buyers. Anyway, I would fly to Salt Lake, rent a car, and my realtor, who was an honest realtor.
Yeah.
She had homes outlined from all the way from Payson to Lehi.
Yeah.
And I would come and we'd look, and I said, after about 3 weeks of doing this every week, everything you've shown me is either next door to a neighbor, I can't get used to that idea, or the cost is the same as buying a house. And so she said, why don't you buy a home?
Sure. Yeah.
So I said, okay, do you have something in mind? She said, yes, we're going to start building homes up in Traverse Mountain.
Okay.
And I said, why would you live up there? And she said, because it's in the middle of everywhere and in the middle of nowhere.
Sure.
It's equidistant between Provo and Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And I said, show me where you would live. And so she took me to a spot. And I said, why would you live here? And she said, because I know there's going to be a tot park that I can look out my window and see my grandkids playing.
Sure.
There's a mail house right there, and there's a church within a couple of blocks.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll take it. And so the builder and I met at the closing in Orem, and he said, do you mind if I ask you a personal question? I said, no. He said, why did you move to Utah? And I said, do you believe in inspiration? And he said, yes. And I said, then I don't have to explain it to you, do I? That occurred, I moved into my brand new home on Thanksgiving of 2003.
Okay.
And it was an inspired decision. I'm so happy with that move.
Yeah.
It's proven to be the right one. And it's really interesting, Ryan. I'm a single person now.
Yeah.
And I bought a 6-bedroom home.
Sure.
And the inspiration that is, I have a place for family to come. We're kind of at the crossroads, and so I have a place for them to stay, and it's worked out very well.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's how I came to be here in Lehi.
Okay.
And it's been a marvelous place to be.
Yeah, no, I love that story. Talk to us then about, so you're a chaplain then for the first responders, right?
Yes.
Talk to me about that, or how did that, because obviously you told me you were a state inspector in California, so that wasn't the job.
No, it's completely different. I served in the United States Air Force for 6 years, active and reserve. And the only chaplain I'd ever met in the military was James K. Seastrand, second lieutenant, Latter-day Saint, that took me under his wing in basic training in Texas. I admired him for what he did, and later he became the mayor of the city of Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And was instrumental in getting a temple in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That's the only exposure I've had to being any connection, although I was a military group leader for 3 years at Grand Forks Air Force Base.
Okay.
So I did have that connection, but it was not as a chaplain for the entire population. It was for Latter-day Saints.
Sure.
I was walking. One of the blessings of me being in Lehi has been the Lehi Legacy Center.
Yeah.
And I became involved in that almost the following week after I moved here in 2003. I was walking on the track one morning, and a person came up to me that I hadn't met before, and he identified himself as Darren Paul, the police chief for the city of Lehi.
Yeah.
And apparently he had been observing me for some time because he said, we had an executive meeting, and we decided you would make an ideal chaplain. So the chaplaincy, I didn't seek it.
Yeah.
It came to me.
Sure.
And I like to make sure when I say yes to something that I am capable of following through.
Sure.
And so I said, Darren, I'm not sure what a civilian chaplain does.
Yeah.
Would you let me inquire and find out more information before I say yes? And he said, certainly.
Yeah.
So I was in touch with the headquarters for the chaplains in Salt Lake. And they said, well, the first thing you need to have happen is you need to submit an application with your qualifications. And that means educational background, everything. Mm-hmm. And we will screen it, and you'll be endorsed or you'll not be endorsed as a chaplain. So shortly after that, I was endorsed as a chaplain.
Okay.
Now, there's a difference between ecclesiastical training and training that you receive within a department. Mm-hmm. And so I was in touch with another chaplain that, ironically, I was his bishop when he was just a kid.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And he said, you need to get some excellent training in such topics as suicide, handling ceremonies, handling issues within a department, counseling, and other related items. And he said, one of the best places I can tell you is the International Conference of Police Chaplains.
Okay.
And so I became credentialed with the International Conference of Police Chaplains, and I received training from them, and that was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I still, every year, attend their annual training, which lasts for a week. I just returned from a week's training, and I was acknowledged at that time as a master chaplain.
Okay.
Now I progressed through the areas of basic and senior and now master.
Okay.
And that's a function of educational units, training, and experience. That was in Little Rock, Arkansas. And when I returned home, there was a nice ceremony at the city hall with the mayor and the board there. But I have to go back a little bit. An interesting thing happened after I became chaplain for the police department. 2 firemen came up to me, and they said, "Hey, we go on the same calls that the cops do. Will you be our chaplain?"
Oh,
I said, "Sure."
might as well.
I said, let me see what's involved with that.
Sure.
And checking it out, I learned that I needed to become credentialed with the Federation of Firefighter Chaplains.
Okay.
So I'm credentialed with fire and police and church.
Okay.
I got it covered.
You got it covered. Yes. Yes, you do.
And the firefighters training is I train both within the departments as I can. Like yesterday, for example, I trained at Station 84 with the firemen. They were addressing the issue of electric cars and fires.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from every one of these, but this was interesting. Electric cars, when they catch on fire, you cannot put the fire out.
Yeah.
They just have to control the burning so it doesn't involve other vehicles or other things around them. They had a fire of an electric vehicle at Point of the Mountain here not too long ago. And the fire was so intense, it took over 15,000 gallons of water. Wow. And it didn't put the fire out. It just quenched it.
Sure. To stop it from spreading.
Yes, and I learned that there are certain places, like we have the jaws of life, the cutters and the spreaders.
Yeah.
There are certain places on an electric car that you can cut, but certain places that you cannot cut.
Okay.
That car, if you were to look at it like an X-ray, that is one massive battery. I mean, from the chassis, it's a solid battery through there. And those electrical links go all the way through the car. There's a huge amount of airbags. Yeah. In a Tesla, it goes all the way front to back. It's not just a little spot. Yeah. And so we learned how if a electric car, a Tesla specifically, they had a Tesla there that we demonstrated with. Sure. They showed how you could access the car even if the doors were locked and it was not running and the people inside were not able to respond. We learned there's a place to access the electrical system, and you hook in an auxiliary power unit and it'll pop the doors open. In a desperation, you can wedge through the window. It's a waste of time to try to break the window in a Tesla. That's a tempered glass.
Oh, so it's very difficult.
And it's hard to break through. But you can get to the latch and pop the door open. Or you can get a spreader in to pop it. Anyway, this is fascinating information. It made me think, wow, with technology, these people have to be trained constantly about the changes that are occurring, both within the police department and within the fire department, first responders. At the same time we were going through this training, other parts of the department were over on an active shooter training with the police department. Okay. And we kind of rotate those things around. As you know, we've had a very serious thing occur recently in our area. Yeah. And the colleges and the police departments and fire departments are assessing what we would do differently. You know, and that's interesting about the difference between the police and fire, I've learned. They go on the same calls. Yeah. But when the fire department returns to the station, they are evaluating as a group what went well, what didn't go well, what we should do differently next time, and on and on.
Yeah.
The policeman just climbs back in his cruiser and goes back to the next call.
Sure. Okay.
Sometimes there's not a debrief there
Yeah.
until he meets with his sergeant or if we have a critical incident, and I've been involved in critical incidents, sometimes those things get evaluated, but they're under such challenges. Everyone in the world has a cell phone or a camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all photographing, and they're just waiting for somebody. Well, that sounds wrong. They will observe any slip up,
Yeah.
or a proposed slip up, and the policemen and the firemen have to make instant decisions, and sometimes, you can second guess those.
Sure.
Out of the heat of, they're running into situations that everybody else is running away from.
Yeah.
And I admire them so much for what they do. Sometimes it's a very tough and challenging job, Ryan.
Yeah.
But it's an honor and a privilege to serve with them. Now, you may ask what I do. What is my job?
Yeah. Yeah.
as
What's
a
your kind of
chaplain?
daily, yeah.
My responsibility is, first of all, I'm a chaplain to everyone.
Okay.
Faith aside, no faith,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm a standing minister to them. If someone asks me a specific religious question, I will answer that to the best of my ability.
Sure.
However, I don't proselytize in any way. If I did, I would cease to be a chaplain. That would be
Because you're not trying to convert anybody to a specific
Exactly.
religion. You're just trying to
support
them in a religious context. I guess.
Exactly.
Okay.
I have been blessed. First of all, it's important to be among the folks, the officers and the firemen. They have to learn to trust you. That means keeping confidences is essential.
Sure.
If I were to repeat something that I've heard to, say, a superior officer, I would cease to be a chaplain because I would have betrayed
That trust.
the trust.
Sure.
So I'm very careful about that. So if I talk about incidents with you, it would be in a very general term. I would not use names
Sure.
just to protect both myself and the individuals.
Sure.
But again, I'm not a licensed therapist. I have boundaries that I respect. I will counsel an individual to the point to where I feel they need professional counseling. And at that point, I would turn it over. The same thing with religion. If a Catholic asked me to do the last rites, for example, I would decline that, and I would get a Catholic friend to do that,
Okay.
because that's crossing a line for me.
Sure.
So there are certain things that need to be respected
Sure.
as
Sure.
a chaplain.
Sure. And so do you have like office hours that you're at different, places? Do they come to see you? Kind of tell me logistically, how does that work?
That is an interesting part of it. I'm really on call 24/7.
Okay.
But I have responded on some calls, ride-alongs, and one of them was kind of funny. I happened to be in Station 81 when there was a call, I-15,
Okay.
at rush hour,
Okay.
and it was a parking lot on I-15. Both the ambulance and the engine rolled, and if you can imagine cars having to move a foot or two one way or the other just to
let them
to let you through. And of course, people would fall in behind
Sure.
trying to get through.
Sure. Sure.
And we had the air horn going and the lights and the siren, and it was just like moving through molasses.
Yeah.
We finally got to the scene. It was a vehicle towing another trailer
Okay.
that had a new one of those 4x runners in it
Okay.
that had whipsawed and finally flipped over and blocked all of the lanes.
Traffic. Okay.
And but the funny part was that no one was injured. That's a good part.
That is a good part.
The funny part occurred when we got back to the station, and the engineer who was driving said, "Chaplain, did you notice I didn't cuss once?" I said, "I noticed that, but I was thinking it."
Sure.
But those are good folks.
Yeah.
They just they support each other. It's a family.
Yeah.
And they're exposed to a lot of things. Right now, I admire Chief Jeremy Kraft, our fire chief. He has been a real exponent for cancer.
Yes.
Because these folks are exposed to carcinogenic elements in fires and in spills and other things that, unfortunately, we have a high rate of cancer among our firemen and policemen, and suicide as well. You might be surprised to know that among law enforcement, our suicide rates are higher than the military.
Oh, wow.
On a ratio. But Chief Kraft has been active with the legislature and other means to get cancer screening for the fire department, and it's in its infancy. He's making some inroads.
Yeah.
But we're talking fiscal issues.
Yeah.
And those are not hard to move through. But I admire him. Both he and Chief Paul have faced cancer issues themselves. I applaud, having gone through the cancer
with your
issue,
wife. Yeah.
I applaud any time I hear that someone has put it in recession, and it's Chief Paul has been successful at that. Chief Kraft is still struggling, but he continues to work. They show up for work.
Yeah.
They wouldn't ask anything of those who work under them to do something they wouldn't do themselves.
Sure.
So I admire the leadership. Lehi is very well served in our safety areas. And so I would be called a chaplain of public safety.
Okay.
I am a one person. And eventually I suspect that we will have more chaplains, but at the present time, the chiefs are happy with what they got.
Well, that means you're doing good. You mentioned, suicide and different things like that, the mental health of them. So how do you approach that with, with those that are struggling? I'm sure you've had to deal with that in our area and stuff.
I have. And it's, on a personal note, I've seen it within members of my own family.
Sure.
Not immediate family, but within my family. Sometimes the signs are not all that apparent, but there are signs, and we need to pay attention to those. If someone starts giving away prized possessions they've held on to for a long time, or they start making little comments like, everybody would be better if I weren't here, or things like that. I think you get you need to take those comments seriously, and you need to be blunt. You need to say, are you thinking of killing yourself?
Sure.
And do you have a plan? Those are things that you have to pick up on.
Sure.
Now, not everybody can do that, because a lot of times that's something you'd want to hear.
Yeah.
Depends on how close you are with the person. But sometimes it sneaks up on you, and you didn't catch the signs, and you're genuinely surprised.
Yeah.
And you start going through the guilt thing of saying, I wonder if I could have done something differently.
Sure.
I wonder how I missed the signs.
Yeah.
And it's a serious nature. I met a person on the track. I meet a lot of people over there.
I'm sure.
A lot of friends. And I had just become a chaplain, and we had something bad happen in Lehi the night before. It involved some youth that were seriously injured and so on and so forth. And as a matter of conversation, I brought that up with this person. And the response was, oh, there's so many bad things happening. Let's talk about positive things.
Sure.
And I thought, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think it's, Ryan, right now, at this time, and I'm not going to get political.
Yeah.
I try to avoid that, but
Sure.
it's very important that we ratchet down the negativity that's taking place, and that's happening way above my pay grade.
Sure.
But what it does is it creates a sense of a person who may be a little mentally margined, thinking, well, I'm going to do the country a favor and I'm going to take out that person.
Sure.
We've got to stop that kind of
Behavior.
whether it's on nighttime talk shows or whether it's just in conversation.
Yeah.
We need to be more civil to each other, kind.
Yeah. More loving, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I say to everyone. The parting words of my wife to me were, I love you more. That came about after 3 times during the night. My sister's an RN, and she was monitoring my wife's vitals. And it was really interesting. At one point, her heart rate went to 0, and her pulse went to 0. That's the same thing. Her respiration went to 0.
Yeah.
And my sister said, Phil, she's gone.
Yeah.
And she would snap back.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like she was just stepped in the other room from
Sure.
me.
Sure.
And so in about 8 o'clock at night, same thing happened. And my sister leaned into my wife's ear and she said, Joyce, you've done everything in this life you could possibly do. It's okay to go.
Yeah.
And Joyce's eyes flew open. She says, I'm not ready to go yet. My sister jumped back. But the next morning, she did the same evaluation, and she said, Phil, she's gone. And she pinched her this time to make sure. And I leaned over and I kissed my wife, Joyce, on the forehead, and I said, I love you. And I turned to walk away, and in a voice that was strained but hard, she said, I love you more. And that was her last words.
Oh, wow.
So I've used that with everyone that I want to make sure I don't check out, and let them know
Sure.
how I appreciate them,
Yeah.
how I love them.
Yeah.
And if you come to my home, you'll see that plastered all over.
Sure.
One of the gifts that she gave me, and she gave me a bunch of gifts that I didn't know anything about, was a flaming red hooded sweatshirt. And it had I love you more
Wow.
applique on. I bawled like a baby when I saw it open
Sure.
that present.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did.
But anyway, I have found in conversations with individuals, everybody is going through something.
Sure.
Everybody is having a challenge of some sort, Ryan. And we can ignore those or we can address them. I appreciate what this person on the track told me, because I don't have to get down in the mud and dwell in that and to share it with others. I need to bring the light and the hope
Yeah.
to others
Yeah.
in a positive way. So one of the sweet things that I have done as a chaplain, and I have some really had positive experiences.
Yeah.
I remember going with the police chief in West Valley to the home of an officer that had been slain, had been shot. They were expecting us, the parents, a son, and a fiance to the police officer. And when we went, we heard the sound of a radial saw going on, and they couldn't hear the doorbell ring.
Okay.
And the chief turned to me and he says, I've always wanted to do this. And he banged on the door. And they said, who is it? And he says, it's the cops, open up. But it was obvious to me that he was a frequent visitor of that home.
Sure. Sure. He knew those people and stuff, right?
And
yeah.
I made a presentation to the family, and that consisted of a certificate from our president of the ICPC.
Okay.
And I gave them a Bible. And the father said, the chief said, what was all the noise? and he said, let me show you. And he took us to a room that was probably 9 by 12 in size. There was a lazy boy rocker sitting in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
It was painted white, and there was a blue border about 2 inches wide around the soffit area. And he had placed the flag, the folded flag of the officer, certificates, all of the things that he'd accumulated in his short life.
Sure.
He was just a young man, were around that room. And the father said, when we get to missing our son and when we get to feeling like we need to meditate, we just come in this room and sit in the easy boy. And this is a very calming room for us. I thought, what a neat way to memorialize your family member.
Yeah.
And I remember when we left, the chief said to me, he said, I've talked like, I tried to talk this younger brother out of becoming a policeman. That's interesting for a chief to say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, well, has it happened? He says, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then I read later that he was in the graduating class of the police academy.
Okay. So, yeah, he wanted to follow in brother's footsteps.
He wanted to follow his brother's footsteps, and I admired that.
Yeah, which makes sense, yeah. Yeah.
But I've had some experiences that my pay, I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid for what I do, but I do get paid big time. The pay that I receive comes in, well, just last Saturday, I officiated my 14th wedding.
Oh, wow, nice.
As a chaplain. And it was a sweet thing because it was another chaplain.
Oh, okay.
And, but those are sweet times.
Yeah.
I enjoyed those a lot more than I do funerals.
I'm sure.
Memorials. I have conducted 5 memorials now for canines.
Oh.
We treat canines like we do officers because
they're on the force. Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Unfortunately, 2 of those canines have been in Lehi, but there are others as well. But the blessing and privilege of being a chaplain is in when you have those moments where you feel that you've made a difference. It could be minute. Sometimes you don't need to say anything. You just need to be quiet and listen. That is more beneficial sometimes than anything you might say.
Sure.
There's some trite things that I try to avoid from saying. For example, I know how you feel. No, I don't.
Yeah.
That's personal. That's with that individual. They know how they feel.
Yeah.
And I may have had some experiences with the loss of loved ones, but I don't know how they feel.
Sure.
And so I'm careful about some of those things to not offend them.
Sure.
By something I might say. And I've had some wonderful things. I've had some things that I would like to do over again, differently. Not many, thankfully, but I think about those.
Yeah, yeah.
And after 10 years of being this, having this opportunity, I'm still learning.
Sure.
I still train. I still learn.
Yeah.
Again, I just underscore what a wonderful privilege it is.
Yeah.
It makes me happy to have the guys when I walk in, guys and gals.
Sure.
When I walk into the station, greet me and welcome me, and not as an outsider.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I didn't tell you this, but for the duration of my military career, I was in the Air Police.
Okay.
So I have some background in that area.
Yeah.
Not like civilian, but
Sure. Yeah.
but different. And
I can tell you enjoy what you do. Tell me about some of the. You've told me about some of the more rewarding things, like the marriages and different things like that you've been able to do. My guess is it's not all easy. So tell me, speak to some of the more challenging aspects of the job, I guess.
sometimes, and I'm going back several years now, thinking about a couple of situations without getting into the details.
Yeah.
I felt very helpless one time sitting in a critical incident where there had been a child that had been run over by its mother. On that same day, a bicyclist was run over by one of these big gravel trucks that had a trailer behind it, and she did not see the gravel truck behind it. That's more detail than I wanted to give you. But I looked at the faces of the first responders, and on a critical incident, the only individuals involved, and we sit in a circle, we don't talk about what so-and-so did, we talk about what we did, what our feelings were in the matter. And I watch carefully the individuals to see, and if there's anyone that has to get up and leave the room, I will get up and go with them until they come back. Because sometimes what they've experienced is so hard that they are reliving it.
Yeah.
Now there's a treatment for that stress called EMDR, and it's a function of light, flashing light. Sometimes one treatment is sufficient to take the stress out of that person, and they can deal with it. But in this case, I'm thinking it was hard for me to just hear the review, and they were talking about, they weren't being critical of anything. They were just debriefing
Of what happened
as a group. And I hurt for them when they experience those things, but a lot of times they cannot talk about them to their family. That's the last person they want to talk with them about. Because when they leave and they kiss their loved ones goodbye, they want to know that they're coming back after the shift.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it's hard for a policeman or a fireman to share anything outside of the work family.
Yeah.
And from my experience, my father was killed in a fire when I was 5, and he saved my life, actually.
Oh, wow.
And the trauma of that, I remember to this day. I remember in vivid detail. And I'm sure that every incident that our policemen and firemen go through, they remember in vivid detail as well.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you want to relive, but you want to learn from those things. And just like I said before, what would we do differently next time?
Yeah. Is that an area you think we're improving on? You know, as a society, it seems like we're more aware of mental health and different things like that. And I would assume probably in specific with first responders who, by definition, they're the first ones on the scene. And oftentimes they're seeing things that, frankly, I don't even want to see in a movie. You know what I mean? And
yes.
And I'm sure that's very hard to go through.
Well, we are making very significant strides in that area. It used to be in the wars, specifically the First World War, when they called it battle fatigue or something like that. Anyway, they struggled with that. We call it different things now. But we call it PSD. The labels we put on that, as I mentioned, there is the treatment, EMDR, that works with that quite well. And that's something that a professional would be involved in. And I would recognize to step back at that point. We do have with the city treatment that, these are, the folks we're dealing with are folks that don't want to appear weak or timid. So it's hard for them to express themselves in a manner that would indicate any weakness. And I asked once, here a few years back, about how many people actually use the facilities, and they said,
not many.
Hardly anyone.
Hardly anyone. Okay.
And it doesn't reflect on the person's employment because there's no, it's kept private.
Sure.
But it's still hard for a person to bring themselves to that point.
Sure.
But mental health is critical. You don't know what you're going to get when you get on a call.
Yeah.
And you prepare, you train, you do all that you can, but the first thing that you do is protect the life and property of the citizens and your fellow officers. Sure. Whether it's a policeman or a first responder.
Yeah.
And I am pleased with the level of training that I see in the Lehi, city of Lehi Police and Fire.
Good.
They are constantly training. Just a tool, for example, that just was new to me yesterday. There is a rod that's probably 10 foot long, 10 foot long, that has a multi-head sprinkler on the end of it. Okay. And they shove that up under the car where the batteries are located with the electric motors. Yeah. And that way they're not exposing themselves directly to that intense heat and fire. That's just another little tool that has been developed. And we keep improving, keep developing things that keep us safe and keep others safe. I don't know if that answers your question.
That answers my question. No, that's perfect. And now tell me, are there any maybe misconceptions? You mentioned that tough exterior, right? I mean, cops. I mean, a lot of our interactions with the police is, getting a ticket, right? For speeding or something like that, right? So, but tell me, having worked with both them and the firefighters, what are some misconceptions maybe, or kind of address the humanity of these people?
It's interesting. If a ticket were issued for every speeder on I-15, there'd be no traffic up there at all.
It's true.
I think too many people regard the speed limit as a suggestion.
I would agree.
But first of all, involving traffic stops.
Sure.
I saw something that kind of warmed my heart. I can't remember. I believe it was in Texas.
Okay.
Where they did traffic stops, and the person driving was very defensive. The first thing you want to say, well, I wasn't speeding. What are you pulling me over for?
Sure.
And it was Thanksgiving time, and they gave them a turkey.
Oh, that's awesome.
So usually when the officer comes up to a vehicle on a stop, those are dangerous stops, by the way.
Sure.
A lot of the shootings of police officers have occurred over irate drivers that use a weapon. And so typically a appropriate stop would involve two officers. One would be slightly behind and to the right rear of the car, where the other officer is approaching the driver. And the other officer is observing any activity inside that they might
find threatening or something.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah. Usually all they're doing is trying to enforce a safety issue. And when we know we're guilty, sometimes we think we can either bully the person, especially if it's a female officer, or to talk our way out of it some way.
Sure.
I will be honest with you. I've had one ticket in my life, one.
Okay.
And it was 5 miles an hour over the speed limit.
So not even that.
It was in a 35-mile zone, and I was doing 40.
Sure.
And, but I realized that I was wrong.
Sure.
And I just had to be honest and say, you're right.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah.
But the misconception is that they're out to get you.
Sure.
They're not.
Yeah.
They're there as a public safety to help you be safe.
Sure.
And there are other misconceptions about either firemen or policemen that if we understood the circumstances, we would probably think differently.
Sure. Which I think is helpful to know sometimes, because I think, again, that's why it's good to get to know people, right? I mean, that's kind of actually even the purpose of this podcast, is just to make the world a little smaller, because then we do love each other more, right? And then we're less judgmental. We're less, thinking of, well, hey, just that entity of police, they're always trying to make my day bad, or I don't know, but reality is like, hey, these are real people who are doing their best, like you said, with safety issues and different things like that, trying to actually make the world better is what they're trying to do, right? And
Yes.
so, I don't know, so I like you're talking about the humanity of these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, because again, I think that's, the hope is that we do then love each other more, right? So.
Well said, Ryan. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I have to laugh remembering back at Chief Paul something. I bought a new Dodge Dart
Okay.
a few years back.
Yeah.
And when he saw it, it looks a hotter car than it is.
Sure.
Believe me. And the first thing Chief Paul said to me is, Phil, whatever you do, don't get a ticket.
Sure.
Meaning,
Yeah.
I'm not going to bail you out.
Yeah, exactly. You can't name drop me.
Nope. No, that's for sure.
That's good. So you've received some awards and recognitions for your job here. Tell me about some of those.
I have. While I was at my training in Little Rock, Arkansas, I spent 4 hours a day for a week training to become an instructor for United States constitutional law
Okay.
as it applies to law enforcement.
Okay.
So I'm a licensed instructor for Hillsdale College
Okay.
in the Constitution and applications. That's one award that I received. The other awards, I was surprised with one. The police department has a community service award,
Yeah.
and I was, I believe, the first recipient of that award, maybe the second, but
Okay.
that was an honor that I had not anticipated.
Yeah.
And it was based on your contributions, the person's contributions to the community. There's some other people up on that wall that they have, the honor wall in the Broadbent building, that are far more worthy of that award than I felt.
Sure. I bet they feel the same way too, about their own contributions. I mean, I think everybody feels like everybody else is a little bit better, So, but I'm sure you're very deserving of it. Is my point.
Well, thank you. And each progression level within your National Conference Police Chaplains, I have also served the last 4 years on a committee that involves the integrity of chaplains.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say to you, not once in that 4 years did we have an issue with the chaplain.
Nice.
That's not to say there's bad apples anywhere,
Of course.
But
As long as there's agency, right? There's always
exactly
gonna be-
right.
Yeah.
I had to laugh one time. Among the really neat things I've had with the city, I have dedicated 2 fire stations and the fire engines in both. The fire department is big on tradition, and the wash down of the vehicle and pushing it into the bay is one of them.
Okay.
When I was in Wichita, Kansas, at one ICPC meeting, and one of the chaplains from the South that I've got to know real well said, "Hey, Phil, what branch of Baptists are you?" And I said, "Well, actually, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." And he said, "Oh, there's not very many of you guys, are there?" I said, No, there's not. He said, "You would make a great Baptist chaplain." And I said, "Stuart, you would make a great Mormon chaplain." And so I was telling the guys, I dedicated Station 83 and the engine. And one morning I was just listening to them talk, and they were talking about all the problems they're having with the engine, Station 83. And I said, "Wait a minute. I dedicated that engine." And they said, "You should have given it a Baptist blessing."
I would have. I like that. That's awesome.
But I've had the opportunity to dedicate the building and the land for Station 84, our newest station, and I dedicated the city campus that's being constructed right now.
Yeah.
That's an exciting
Yeah.
addition to City of Lehi. And so those are kind of fun things I do as a chaplain too.
Yeah, no. Great privilege to be a part of those things, I'm sure. So
It is.
So we've hit a lot of these things. So a lot of the questions. So let me.
Well, they were well constructed. It's a compliment to you.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we hit again because you hit a lot of those things already. But so talking about the community and stuff like that, how do you think the community can better serve first responders? What things can we as a community do to help them?
And that's a good question.
Yeah.
The support, we're very fortunate in a number of ways. Let me say, first of all, we have a good rapport between our fire and police.
Good.
That's not always true in the larger metropolitan cities.
Sure.
Sometimes they're at each other's throats over such things as who got more money than the other one, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And there's some natural, in our area, it's good-natured,
Yeah.
jabbing
The
with
ribbing
each other.
and stuff like that. Sure. Yeah.
In other areas, it's not so genteel.
Sure.
But the community has been, my experience, very supportive.
Good.
There is a person, I will not use the name, who out of her, well, I've exposed the gender, but her husband supported her.
Yeah.
They provided bulletproof vests for our canines.
Okay.
They provided a lot of other equipment to our canines. They were focused quite a bit on that area. But they did that anonymously
Okay.
as a citizen of the community. And they also, at large, did other communities like Saratoga Springs and other communities. I see around Christmas time, holidays and others, people are bringing cookies all the time, and the firefighters enjoy the tours that they get. The police have to be more careful. It's hard to get a tour with the police because they have to be so careful.
Sure.
The glass in the front is bulletproof, and it's locked tight.
Sure.
You have to have an escort I have to have an escort to get in.
Sure. And they know you.
And they know me.
Yeah.
But I see acts of kindness directed towards the departments in, even with the cookies and other type things. But I see it also in the citizens on an active scene where they're more than willing to help without being a hindrance, without getting in the way.
Sure.
But to support and help. I'm thinking of a time when, at a fire, where there was a woman that brought out lemonade. It was in the heat of the summer, and gave to the first responders. Little acts of kindness like that show support. Other support, I've seen some of the businesses provide gifts and things for the officers when they have their annual award ceremonies.
Sure.
And banquets. They'll often have a drawing or whatever, and everybody gets something.
Sure.
It's not a one or two, and they're nice.
Good.
And they come from, I would name the names, but I won't do that, of some of the businesses in Lehi that have contributed a great deal. And for the most part, the smiles and the acts of kindness are appreciated. And I see that, parents can be such an example to their children.
Yeah.
If an officer stops and there's a carload of family, and the person who's pulled over uses berating language and whatnot, either out of the presence in the car, the children pick up on that.
Yeah.
And suddenly they emulate what they hear.
Sure.
And so we can begin within our families to show respect in training and teaching our children.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. You see a lot of these first responders and stuff. What advice would you give to someone that's looking to become a firefighter or a police officer, knowing what you know and you've seen again a lot of this stuff, any advice that you would give to somebody that's looking to go into that field?
I certainly would. First of all, education is important.
Okay.
And that is a priority with new employees. The training, either through an academy or a police academy or a fire academy, is essential.
Okay.
And a lot of that's provided through UVU and other places around that will provide that kind of training. And it becomes a matter of personal commitment at some point.
Sure.
Because just because they have the credential, they still have to go through a lot of hard training.
Sure.
And a lot of that comes from their peers.
Okay.
Going back to myself, if I had a Doctor of Divinity degree and I had a lot of credentials behind my name,
Yeah.
that wouldn't mean anything as to becoming a chaplain.
Sure.
You have to be invited into the department. Otherwise, you're just a good person on the outside.
Sure.
Looking in.
Sure. Yeah.
And so becoming a firefighter or a police officer begins with usually an academy.
Yeah.
It can be, and we've had lateral transfers of officers from other cities who said, wow, Lehi's a great place to be.
Good.
I think I'd like that.
Okay.
It's kind of like the NIL with the college sports now.
Sure.
The portal.
Yeah, the portal. The transfer portal over to Lehi. Is that?
and that is a good way to get a quality officer who's proven themselves with their department.
Sure.
Maybe they're from a small department coming into a larger one.
Yeah.
Talked to Chief Paul the other day, and he said, we're, for the first time, fully staffed.
That's great.
And boy, that's hard to get to.
Sure.
Chief Kraft he's getting a lot of recruits coming in. I see a lot of training taking place within the fire department.
Yeah. Good. Obviously you're a man of faith and your role is a faith, thing there. Tell me how have you felt, inspired at times in your calling where you've especially guided at certain times? Have you had those moments where, you talk about inspiration in the beginning, right? And, what's inspiration, if you know what inspiration, that's why I came here, right? So, but have you had moments like that where you're like, okay, I know I was guided in this moment to help so-and-so or something like that?
I definitely have. And, that, Ryan, that's one of the real beneficial parts of my activity. When I have actually helped someone, but it's usually come at their request. I will start a conversation with, how's things going? Usually the response is, oh, it's going great.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, then if you think differently, within you say, okay, how's it really going?
Sure. Yeah.
Are you lying to me today?
Because most won't tell you, right?
No.
Because,
They're not looking to open a conversation with all their problems.
Yeah.
And I've had some follow-up questions that said, actually, I'm going through something right now. And that gives me an opportunity to either listen, and I'm very careful with what I say back.
Sure.
I learned that as a bishop once upon a time.
Yeah.
If you take somebody's problem, it's your problem.
Sure.
If you help them talk through their problem, it's still their problem, but you've assisted them in coming to a solution. And so I'm careful about taking another person's problem as mine.
Sure.
And some of my most rewarding conversations have been to come away from that conversation with them coming to a solution. Okay, I hadn't looked at it that way before.
Sure.
And they actually talk themselves through the...
And I found that to be true, I guess, because a lot of us are smart enough to kind of figure things out, but sometimes we need that person to bounce things off of, or to at least, maybe just to hear us out, right? I mean, that's
Absolutely.
and to care. And I think that environment of love is where a lot of things can blossom, right?
Absolutely.
So,
yes.
yeah.
We're all intelligent people.
We are, yes.
And we can do some amazing things. I broke both of my femurs.
Oh, wow.
After the age of 80. I'm 88 years old, by the way.
Wow. Good for you for doing all this stuff. I'm 88. That's.
Well, I learned something in the process.
Yeah.
First of all, I learned that you can tolerate more pain than you think you can.
Okay.
My physical therapist would bend my leg about 30 degrees, and it was excruciating.
Sure.
And he'd hold it there. He wouldn't release it to go back. He'd hold it.
Yeah.
And he'd say, breathe and think calm.
Okay.
And then he'd bend it more.
Mm-hmm.
And after a week of this punishment,
Yeah.
I could bend my leg over 130 degrees.
Wow.
And I got even better than that.
Yeah.
But your brain wants you to keep from hurting yourself.
Sure.
And so it says stop.
Yeah.
And too often we listen to that.
Sure.
Not, you have to be smart.
Sure.
You don't want to
Sure. You
damage
don't want
it further.
Yes. Yes.
But
Not all pain is bad.
not all pain is bad. Sometimes it's a good lesson for us. I wrote down some 20 things that I learned from my experience.
Yeah.
My accidents were totally preventable. If I had not been in a hurry, and that's another lesson.
Sure.
When I stand up here,
Yeah.
I'll get my bearings before I take off.
Sure. Sure.
But be patient. Realize that when someone offers something, they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
Sure.
They've wanted to help you.
Sure.
And don't be so quick to refuse, saying, oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Let them help.
Yeah.
Just so many little things like that were blessings for me
Yeah.
as a result of that femur.
Yeah.
And to walk through it, I'm competing this year in my 18th Huntsman Senior Games,
Oh, wow. That's
World
awesome.
Senior Games.
Yeah.
And I will be shooting competition basketball
Okay.
in St. George in
Okay.
October. That has been fun.
Yeah.
Another thing that has filled the void for me, I miss my wife every day,
I'm sure.
but there in the quiet moments, I fill it with music. I love music of every variety.
Yeah.
And I sang with the Choral Arts Society of Utah for over 20 years.
Wow.
We've gone all over the world. I've sang in Carnegie Hall
Wow.
with them.
Wow.
With the choir we did the National Memorial Day in Washington, D.C. And our director, Sterling Polson, who is a Channel 2 chief meteorologist, invited me to participate in the laying of a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington.
Okay.
That was a real honor.
Yeah.
I've sailed on the vessel SS John Brown, which is one of the only 3 troop carriers from World War II. I was selected to toss a wreath off that vessel in honor of the airmen and the sailors and the soldiers that were lost at sea. And that was a real privilege too.
Sure. Yeah.
So I've had a lot of great things happen in my life.
You have. You've led a very good life. Yeah.
And I'm not ready to quit yet.
And I'm good with that. I think, President Nelson's showing that, hey, 101, right? I mean, so you got many years to go, I guess, right?
That's right. One of the first things I did, my wife gave me 3 challenges. I'd call them covenants. She said, promise me, she knew I was in denial.
Sure.
She was accepting of it. She said, promise me that you will always be active in the church. And I said, I'll try. She said, no, that's not what I asked you. I said, I promise. And she said, promise me that you will stay close to our family. And I said, I promise. Now, not one of my children live in the state of Utah, so I travel a lot.
You do. Yeah, you would have to. Yes.
And the third promise was, promise me that you will not become a recluse. I didn't appreciate that at the time. I didn't understand it.
Sure.
I do now. That was very wise counsel.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a chaplain were it not for the fact that I enjoy being with other people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people in my situation, especially with a broken femur,
Yeah.
would be content to say, I've lived a good life,
Yeah. I'm
you
done.
know,
Yeah.
and sit in a recliner
Sure.
and die.
Sure.
I have a purpose,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for that. Every day I wake up, grateful for a new day,
Yeah.
happy that I can continue my journey.
Yeah. Phil, I love that. It's you know, I got many more years before I reach your age, but these are good examples for me so that I want to do that into those later years of life, right? Where I'm
Good.
continuing to, to make a difference. And I think you're doing great.
Thank you.
Is there, as we kind of get to the close of this, is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
Well, there is a value in volunteering.
Okay.
One of the things that I did in compliance with that third charge,
Yeah.
I had a CDL license. I've had a CDL license for, 60 years. And the folks at Thanksgiving Point, I volunteered on the golf course.
Okay.
And for a while, I was just cleaning golf carts, and then I got the responsibility of hole number 5 to manicure that thing.
Yeah.
But Johnny Miller, professional golfer, was the one that designed that course.
Okay.
And he used to have a pro-am tournament, and they needed to have a driver for the trolley that had a CDL. I had a CDL.
Yeah, you were that guy.
And I volunteered, and I never went back to the golf course. I drove for parades, I drove
Yeah.
for orientation and whatnot. I loved it. And I would have paid them to let me drive. That was a fun gig.
Sure. Sure.
But I did that for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
And retired not too long ago. It was kind of fun. I got a call from HR at Thanksgiving Point, and they said, "Hey, Phil, we know you've retired, but we have a group for orientation, and they need a driver for the trolley. Would you do it?" And I said, "Sure, for you, I would do it."
Yeah.
And so I went over, and it seemed a little rowdy in the orientation room next door to the HR office. And she said, "Well, it's time we go in." So we went in. The first thing I saw was my grandson. And I said, "Colin, what are you doing here? Are you looking for a job?"
Sure.
And then I looked around. It's all my sons and daughters and my grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
And that was so fun. I said, "All right, you've all come for a trolley ride. I'm going to give you a trolley ride." So I took them all around the property.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure they loved that.
But that was a fun thing. Volunteering is, and that's what my wife was telling me, in not becoming a recluse. Look for opportunities to help other people.
Yeah.
I'm a chaplain. That's why.
Sure.
I live a good life.
Yeah.
I will tell you that. There are a lot of people who are not living a good life.
Sure.
They're struggling. And the worst thing that can happen is they lose hope.
Sure.
And hopefully, whether it's just a smile, a greeting, or whatever, you can bring that little sliver of hope to that person.
Yeah.
And so that's how I get my pay, my rewards.
And it's a great pay it is, right? I mean, that's well, I love that. And volunteering is something that, I can tell the happiness you have, and I think in large part it is based off of the fact that you're out in the world, doing good, right? And it's those relationships that you have, right? I mean, you can tell that you enjoy people, you love people, right? And so, good job to your wife for making you make that last covenant, I guess, right? Of not being a recluse.
Yep.
And I think the world's a better place because you made that promise with her. So
One of the other things I did with the city of Lehi was be involved with the historical department. I did that for I think about 7 years,
Okay.
until I became a chaplain, and then it became difficult to do both.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot about the origins of the city of Lehi, and some of the pioneers and the people who made it such.
Yeah.
I was involved with the Sons of the Utah Pioneers, and Carl Meller, what a great guy he was. He's no longer with us, but I went to a tour on the Holy Lands with him, and did a lot of things with the Sons of Utah Pioneers that I've really benefited from.
Sure.
We live in a great area.
We do. I agree.
Great historical area.
I agree. Phil, you know, as you continue to work and do all these different things, what, as far as your legacy, or, you know, what you want to be remembered for by your, you know, your children and you know, the community at large, what would you say that is, I guess?
That is a good question, Ryan. I think first and foremost, I'd like to be remembered as a good person, a good father, husband, loyal. I'm a patriot to the country. I think the goodness that I have received as a person, I would like to reflect to others.
Love that. Love that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not very well said, but
It's perfectly said.
From my heart.
Yeah, no, perfectly said. Well, Phil, thank you for coming on. Thank you for talking with me for a little bit of time, and, you know, as we get to know you, and I think you're a great example of somebody that's, again, trying to make a difference in their lives, even into their later years, right? And I think you're showing that you can make a big difference even in your later years, right? I mean, never stop doing things, right? Don't be a recluse. I think that's great advice for everyone, really. And so, you know, hopefully your wife's advice to you can shine to others too, and maybe others can kind of listen to this and say, okay, hey, what can I do? What more can I do to make things better? I haven't checked out of this life yet, right? So what else can I do?
You know, there's two ages to a person.
Yeah.
There's a biological age.
Sure.
And there's a chronological age.
Yeah.
And I've preached this with a lot of people. You want to keep your biological age younger than your chronological age.
That's good advice. Yes. No, that's good
And
advice.
I'm trying to do that.
Yeah, you are. Well, yeah, keep going to that legacy center. Keep,
Yep.
working that body, right?
There you go.
So, okay. Well, thanks, Phil. I appreciate you coming on.
It's been a pleasure to be with you today, Ryan. I felt very comfortable being here, and I wish you well in this endeavor that you've undertaken.
Yeah.
I don't know how many interviews you've done. Do you have any idea?
I think that's a good question. I think we're around 20 to 25, somewhere in there, So, yeah.
And these are all recorded?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, I may be very self-critical if I hear this again. Where would I go to hear this?
So you can just find it on podcasts, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also find it on YouTube if you want to watch the video part of it. Those are the main platforms that we put this on and stuff.
Fun.
And then, like I said, the Lehi Historical Society is archiving these too. So they'll have those there. But
very good.
Yeah, anyhow.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Roots and Branches of Lehi. I hope today's story helped you feel a little more connected to the people who make up our community. Remember, every person here has a unique story, and together, we're what makes Lehi feel like home. If you know someone who would be a great fit for this podcast, please fill out the form in the show notes so we can reach out and schedule an interview. We'd love to hear from you. A big thank you to our sponsors, the Work Harding Home Mortgage Team and Play Harding Nightly Vacation Rentals, for supporting this show and helping us bring our community closer together. Until next time, keep growing those roots and reaching out to your branches. Take care.